This video is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors, as well as Mobile Gaming News Network, mobilegamingnews.com, your one-stop shop for all your mobile gaming news, reviews, and information you can use. Head on over and sign up, and if you are inclined to write some articles, go ahead and sign up for that as well. We are always looking for more writers. But with that, let's get into the video. Greetings and welcome to the channel. I'm the Shotgun Shogun, and today I wanted to take a look at some of the financials around the past couple of months for Epic 7. Now, a lot of people have been saying that the game has been slowly dying, and I wanted to take a look at the numbers for this game and see if they correlate at all. Now, we don't have the numbers for November. What we do have the numbers for October and November, so we're waiting on December to see how that goes, but I did want to take a look at October and November and see if we can see any sort of decline, increase, how the game is doing by the numbers. Now, I don't really worry too much about, the sentiment. I do think that it will impact December a little bit, but we'll see, considering the fact that they are going to be coming on to a DN rerun, as well as Elena just came out and Moonlight Lytica. But let's take a look at some of the charts for October. That way we kind of have a base here. Now, up first is going to be your ARPU. This is average revenue per user. This is going to be the top 11 grossing anime gacha games in October. As you can see, we are number one. Epic 7 brings in about $18.7 per active user. Now, you see next up here is going to be Fate Grand Order, and that's going to be 18.4, which overall in October was pretty interesting. One of the interesting things here too is that we were way above Dokkan Battle, which is really weird considering the fact that Dokkan is such a massive revenue generating game. Now, again, remember that this is average revenue per user. So the more users that a game has, the more that this will be diluted, because, you'll have your whales, and that at a smaller amount of people will generate quite a bit more revenue when, factoring into all of those things. Now, one of the interesting things here, though, is I wanted to point out is if you take a look at the daily active users of the top 11 grossing gacha games in 2019 or October of 2019, you will see that we are very low down there on the totem pole. It does look like we only had about 39,000 daily active users, which is way less than I actually thought, considering I looked at some of the other numbers of the other months, and I'm pretty sure that it was a lot more than that. So it's wondering if maybe October was just a busy time for a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people weren't logging in. I know that a lot of the concerns and everything like that around the game have been going on for quite a few months, but it was a little interesting to see that number. Now, that you did go from 9th place to 10th place on that, considering we have 11 on there. Now, the other thing too is that does generate into the average revenue per user, because if we only have 38,000 active users, then obviously the more that users spend on that will inflate that other number. Regardless, you do see quite a few of the players just generating quite a bit of money here. Now, one of the other interesting things here too is if you take a look at the next slide, this is going to be your daily average time per user of the top 11 games in October. And as you can see, we are 100% crushing that. We have 144 minutes average play per user here. So this is going to be, how much time are people spending playing this game? A lot of times this is correlated with how grindy is your game. Obviously Azure Lane is up next, because it does take quite a bit to get some of the PR ships on that, and a lot of other things in there. So it's interesting to see that for such a smaller user base here, that we have quite a bit of numbers when it comes to the average time played per user, as well as the average revenue per user when it comes to the anime gacha game sphere. Now, I wanted to take a look at how November played out on that as well. So as you can see here, the average daily time per user hasn't really gone down that much. It was 144 minutes in October, with it dropping to 132 minutes in November. Obviously, Azure Lane shot up because of events and new PR ships, so that's a big thing there. So people are still logging in, people are still playing, so there hasn't really been too much of an impact there. As for the active users, and this is something that I wanted to take a look at here a little bit more in depth, and it looks like we actually shot up to about 105,000 users. Now that is a huge increase in active daily player base here. We went from 38,000 to 105,000 in the course of a month. Now I do think that is correlated with people picking it up because of the Luna rerun, because a lot of people wanted to just get in, start playing, get Luna, because they didn't want to miss out on that limited. Again, there's quite a few other things that are involved in this as well. And one of the things too is, if you take a look at the November revenue recap here, you will see that there was actually quite a bit of interesting revenue here. In November alone, they made a little over $2 million. Now, one of the things that kind of surprised me here was the fact that Luna made a bit more than Melissa by herself. And I think the reason why she wasn't higher, obviously, is because a lot of the whales that already had Luna, well, they weren't rolling again, except for some of them who wanted Draco Plate. I don't know who would have spent a bunch of money trying to get a Draco Plate on a rerun banner. Please don't do that again, Smilegate. Thank you. But it was interesting because a lot of people don't really like Melissa, but I think that the aesthetic is what really brought a lot of people in on that one. So that one was actually pretty good. You do see here that Bazaar banner actually was a little bit surprising because of the fact that you didn't really get a whole lot of revenue in on this. And I think that that's a little weird, because I would have expected a lot more people to be bringing in the amount of a bunch of money on Bazaar because of how prevalent that he is in the PvP meta. Now, Ravi, obviously, a bit of a waifu material character here. Not only that, but she is very, very strong as well, bringing in about 120k just on her banner alone, which is another really interesting thing. Now, I do think that is potentially a little bit people buying up maybe Mystic packs before the end of the month, waiting for that ML Lytica banner to drop. There are a lot of different factors in here that are really hard to tell, because if you take a look at the JP banner, you will see that a lot of people look like they topped up their accounts right before the banner dropped, because if you see, there's like a huge spike and then Bell comes out and then it kind of tanks off a little bit. But I think that is like a big thing, because I know especially like at the end of the month, people will top off their mystics if something is coming up and they're like, oh, hey, let's see what we can get here. But one of the big things too with October into November was things like you had Lilius, you had Vildred, you had Cecilia, you had Luna at the end of the month, which went into the next month. So a lot of the revenue is pretty static across the board. And actually, that one of the big things with that is that brought Epic 7 into the second most grossing gacha game in November. And that was a huge thing considering the other powerhouses that we have that we're going up against. So a lot of the concerns with people leaving and things like that, I don't think are necessarily well founded. I think that the game is doing fairly well. I will be interested to see what the numbers are for December, considering the fact that we did have Moonlight Lytica. We do have a new character, Elena, that came out, although I do know that a lot of people potentially didn't roll on her because they're waiting for the potential DN rerun. And if they do a DN rerun, then I do do think that that will generate quite a bit of revenue as well, considering it's another limited character. Granted, she is not as powerful as she once was, but I do think that in RTA, I do think that in Guild Wars, she's still very powerful, and she'll be a very interesting pick to see. People who have had her for an entire year, you know, we kind of know what it is that she can do, so it'll be interesting to see if the things that she can do will hold up in the current meta. Now, I want to see additionally what the controversy will do in terms of impacting the revenue that Epic 7 is going to generate. Not only that, we'll see at the end of the month if there is a uptick in revenue once RTA comes out. Do they do a DN rerun and a Christmas unit? We'll see. There's a lot of stuff that's still up in the air for all of that. But with that said, that is by the numbers. Do I think that E7 is dying? I absolutely do not. They seem to be going, you know, month for month, making more, bringing more people in. Sure, there was a downtick in average time played per user, but it's still quite a bit of time played per user on there. Not only that, but I want to see how many more people we've brought on, how many people have been lost with everything that has been going on this month and the tail end of last month, and how things are going to go. So definitely going to be holding out for that information. But I do want to thank the guys over at PAnime for providing all of this amazing data. It's really interesting to actually go dig into it and see just how good things are doing, just strictly by the numbers. If you do want to go over and give them a subscribe, I will have them linked down below, as well as go check out their Facebook and stuff like that. They do a lot of just information around mobile games, anime mobile games, stuff like that. Really cool dudes. But let me know what you think. Do you think that it's going to super tank? I know that JP has fallen off a little bit due to concerns with Arbiter Vildred, things like that, but we'll see how it goes and whether or not Smilegate is going to address some of the more reasonable concerns out there, and if that is going to adjust any of the sentiment and revenue. But like I said, let me know down below what you think, and if you think it's going to fall off drastically. Do you think it's going to stay the same, or do you think that it will increase with potential Christmas stuff? I will catch you guys later. Take it easy, homies. Peace.